How's everyone doing? My name is Karen, and I am a transgender veteran. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 21. I had been in school for about a year. I felt like I needed to grow up a little bit. The Marine Corps is actually pretty infamous for maturing people quickly. We'll put it that way. I was in Delta Company, Platoon 1073. I graduated boot camp January 11th, 2008. I was not guide. I was not a squad leader. We were not the honor grads. None of that shit. I spent a couple weeks as scribe, but there were 4 of us, so 2 of us got dropped, and the other 2, fuck it. I didn't care anymore. It was extra work for really nothing nice coming out of it. I went to School of Infantry West at Camp Pendleton, California, which in many ways was worse than boot camp. They treat you like shit, but they don't haze you like they do in boot camp. You think you have privileges or that you have some worth because you're now a Marine? You're fucking worthless, and they treat you as such. I went across the street to a place called Light Armored Vehicle Training Course, LAVTC, where I became an 0313, which is a light armored vehicle crewman. There was a discernible difference with the staff. They actually wanted us to succeed. They wanted us to do good and to go back to their community. They cared because they kind of had to, but they also kind of wanted to. They could have gone off and become drill instructors or recruiters, but they went back to LAVTC to train dipshits like me. So they cared, and they wanted us to be good because they were going to see us again. I went to 1st LAR, and I hit the fleet on a Friday. The battalion was up at 29 Palms doing Mojave Viper. The next Wednesday I joined them. I finished off Mojave Viper with them. About 3 months after that, we deployed to Iraq for OIF 8 TAC 2. I had been in the fleet for less than 4 months and I was already in country. That was fucking incredible. Iraq was kind of interesting. We got there in September and it was still pretty hot. It was still rather warm, but it was cooling off and the nights were getting kind of chilly. We got there towards the end of the war. In fact, January 1st, 2009 is when the SOFA came out. We got there September 2008. And we left there in April 2009. The war was over when we were there. We couldn't go into people's houses without their permission or unless there was a direct pursuit of someone. We couldn't arrest anybody without having Iraqis present. They had to be the ones to take them. And if we detained somebody, we had to turn them over to the Iraqi security forces, whomever that may be. The deployment was overall incredibly cold and miserable. I'd never been in single digit or negative temperatures. I experienced both in one night. I remember around New Year's, we got frozen over. That sucked bad. I can deal with the heat. I'm from the desert. The really, really bad cold, I can't deal with. Not long after we got back, I got sent to the Battalion S3. I have many different ideas as to why this happened. One of which is that I did not get along with my platoon sergeant. He was a dance instructor, drill instructor. There's not much fucking difference there. He was hard up on himself. He thought that people owed him everything and that people needed to suck his dick constantly. I do not work that way. We did not get along. And I'm pretty fucking sure that he cried his way up to Earl Company Gunny, who took me along with him to the S3. I've been told a few niceties like, oh, well, they only take people who are pretty smart or people who are able to be around be around the officers, you know, they want grown-ups there. And I was like, thanks for the platitudes, I appreciate it, but fuck you. That's not what happened. At that point, I just stopped giving a fuck. I joined the Marine Corps to be a grunt. I was already in an MOS I hated. And they made me a fucking pogue. I didn't give a fuck. I stopped trying. I stopped caring. I just just went through the motions. A little less than a year, like 360 days after we got back from Iraq, I started the hop, skip, and a jump overseas to Afghanistan. That was interesting. The flight there alone was interesting. We were stuck at March Air Reserve Base in Moreno Valley, California for 3 days. Then we went to Ireland overnight. That was pretty fucking awesome, actually. Getting to go to a real Irish pub because our plane was grounded for whatever reason. I don't even know why. I don't care why. We got to stay at an Irish pub, at an Irish hotel for free. That was awesome. I actually have a lot of pride in that memory. That's probably the best thing that ever happened to me in the Marine Corps. It was fucking amazing. We ended up going to Kuwait, which was my 3rd time there. I've been to Kuwait 3 times. Spent less than 100 hours there. And then we went to Leatherneck in Afghanistan. Spent about a week there acclimating to the weather, which was fucking hot. I thought I could deal with some heat, but that was a whole other type of heat. Wow, I'm from the desert. I know hot. This was beyond hot. Add in sandstorms, and it was just incredible. We were down in the southern Helmand province at a place called Khanashin, the castle, and a place called Kop Pain. It was hot. My Iraq deployment was very cold. In Iraq, I spent, out of the 208 days deployed, I spent 176 of them outside the wire. Out of the 218 days that I was deployed to Afghanistan, I spent 12 of them outside the wire. This whole time I was sitting in an operations center, just hating life. I didn't give a fuck. I was squared up, just absolute OFP. Own fucking program. I would shave my head when I needed to, which was randomly. I'd feel the back of my head. If it was soft, if my hair was soft, time to get a haircut. Didn't have a schedule for it or anything. I'd wake up early on my own and go for a run. I didn't PT with the other people in my platoon. I didn't care. I really just did not give a shit. And it was very well known. As far as I'm concerned, it was 7 months wasted out of my life. I don't know what I gained from it. I couldn't tell you. All I knew, though, was that when I was out there, I knew that I would never stay in the Marine Corps. I knew I was angry. I knew I was miserable. I knew I was unhappy. And I knew that if I stayed in the Marine Corps, it was going to get worse. I came back in November of 2010. I was in Afghanistan from April 2010 to November 2010. And I came back and I just kind of marked time before I got out of the Marine Corps. I made the decision that when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was either going to go into the Army, because fuck the Marine Corps, because I wanted to do something better than sit in a fucking office and waste my fucking time and be a fucking pogue. Well, part of it was that because I stopped giving a fuck, because I was not in a good place, because I was angry, because I was not happy. I wasn't PTing as much, I didn't give a fuck about my diet, and I gained some weight. In fact, I have 2 page 11s from the Marine Corps, one of which was saying that I have dental for the 6 months that I get out, first 6 months I got out of the military. Like, really? Did I fucking need to get a page 11 to say I had fucking dental when I got out of the Marine Corps? Really? Fuck you guys. Whatever. And the other one was for not meeting height weight standards. I just stopped giving a fuck. Plain and simple. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, it didn't necessarily improve. I'm still overweight. Well, the Army, even though the Army's infamous for taking anyone and everyone, it's like, okay, you're qualified, let's go. And even at that time, they were also drawing down. And I would have been what's known as a retread, because I would not be going through boot camp and all that. So they weren't as interested in me. Well, I ended up back in school, and I ended up transitioning. I left the Marine Corps in September of 2011. Actually, the same week Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. That's purely coincidental. I got 3 weeks of terminal leave, and it just happened to coincide. And then I went back to school February of 2012. It's 2011 to 2012. I mean, no time at all. April 2012, I started HRT. The transition part was always kind of hidden in the background. I realized more so than ever before what it meant to be trans, what it meant to have that dysphoria, because I did embrace hypermasculinity. When I joined, I knew why I joined. I knew that I needed to do something better with my life. And I will never regret joining, because at that time, it made sense. At that time, it's something I needed to do with my life. But when I got out of the Marine Corps, I hated it. I would say I was an ex-Marine. Fuck the Marine Corps. Every now and then someone would say, there's no such thing as an ex-Marine. You're either active or inactive. And I go, fuck you, fuck the Corps. I'm a fucking ex-Marine. I'm not going to be a motherfucking Marine ever fucking again. And people would back off real quick, realizing I was... fuck the Marine Corps. As time has gone on, I've calmed down quite a bit about it. I think I've pushed out a lot of those angry messages and mindsets, and kind of started to think about why I joined and what I did. And while I still get incredibly angry about some of the shit that I went through in the Marine Corps, I'm past a lot of it. In fact, I have my wrist tattooed, Semper Fidelis. There was a long time where I didn't even think I was ever going to do that much. Nowadays, I kind of miss it. I really do. Especially right now in the miserable state that I'm in. It's kind of interesting to think back that I did something. I did something a little bit bigger. As I've gone back to school, I've met too many kids who are young, dumb, and full of cum. They're as arrogant as a senior lance and as dumb as a boot PFC. They don't know shit, but they're fucking telling me what's up. And I'm kind of like, you know what? While I did hate the Marine Corps, I was around a better group of people. People that did care. People that did push themselves. Where what would be seen as pushing the envelope for a normal civilian, that's where we began as a Marine. I still do silly things like I'm still in the Corps. I lay out my clothes before I go to bed. The way I check things, what I put in my pockets and where. Everything has a plan, everything has a place, everything matters. And while I did hate my time in the Corps, overall it was better for me to have gone. Because I did spend 4 years in the military, I do have hormones from the Veterans Administration. I do have the GI Bill, which I'm taking a pause from school, but that's not the point. I have been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kuwait, Germany, Ireland, and Bulgaria. I have met people that I'll never be able to ever say anything bad about because of the level of commitment and dedication they have to something bigger than themselves. I have met people from all walks of life because of the Marine Corps, and I'll say this one, for as much as I hated it, it was probably the best thing I've ever done with my life. And there are times now where I actually miss it. And truth be told, if trans people are allowed to serve and I'm not too old, I'm going to rejoin. It'll probably take another war for it to happen. I don't know. But if it happens, I'm going. Even through all that hate and misery, if it happens, I'll probably go. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, if you yourself are a veteran, please comment down below. This is something way bigger than myself, and I have a lot of trans friends who are also veterans, and this is not just about me. I know my story is mine, but it is similar to so many other people. Thanks for watching.